Bharat Bandh today.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh. Somebody's shouting. My God. Hey guys, welcome back to yourstory.com. I know it's Bharat Bandh, but that's why I love being in a startup because we make it all the way to make things work.
Yep.
And I've got with me Vikas Jain, the founder of Uniqolabel. Hi Vikas.
Hi, Vishal. Pleasure being here.
Hey, thanks for being here. And what are we here to talk about? I at least buy 30 items on Amazon every week. And sometimes I do question the authenticity of a few products, apart from books and, books and small items like electronics. There are other items which probably are counterfeit. So we're going to be talking about counterfeiting.
True.
And, apparently it's a 40,000 crore business in India. Am I right?
Yes.
And counterfeiting is 40,000 crores. Can you believe it? And these guys are solving it with their, what is this?
This is a Uniqolabel.
This is Uniqolabel, which is different from your barcode and all that. They have technology where you can use their app or white labeled app on any of their businesses to scan the product and it tells you if it's original or not. Correct?
Exactly, yes.
So we'll get into that in a bit. When did you start this business?
So we started in November of 2016. That was after I came back from US and I tried my hand at another startup. So it was in November 2016 when we started it. Yeah.
And you literally belong to a family business. You also done startups. You worked in a VC firm. You also worked in Ericsson.
Yes.
But you realized that the family business had to grow.
Yes.
And you had to do it differently.
Correct.
So you are saying that all these holograms have existed in the past, but they did not solve it with technology.
Yes.
You want to take us through that?
Correct. So the holograms have existed in the past and they work pretty well for a good amount of time. I'm not saying that they don't work, but they work well for a lot of cases. But the major problem that we've observed is the consumers have no way to verify the product that they get in hand. Let's say if you've got a product which had a hologram on it, there was no way for you to know whether the product is original or not. You would not know the features in the hologram that you need to verify, right? So that's where the problem was. And then there were other solutions to this problem like RFID, security printing. Again, either they were expensive or, as I said, consumers had no way to verify what it was and how to verify it. Thirdly, it was very difficult for the brands to adopt the technology, right? I mean, imagine having to change the packaging or including RFID tag in it. It was very difficult for brands, consumers everywhere, everyone involved to actually verify and find out whether the product they had in their hand was original or not.
Because the market is so huge, 40,000 crores. That's a loss. That totally goes into the black economy, I suppose. Although you are paying through your card and maybe an Amazon or a Flipkart is enabling it.
It does.
It's a major loss because we're buying counterfeit goods.
It is.
This can actually fund drugs in many ways too. And we would never know it.
True.
So, I mean, was there something that led you to that moment saying that, look, my family is in this business.
Right.
Let me solve it with technology. And most old family businesses in India don't want to worry about technology because they have the business going. It's just put stickers or holograms. It's a mark and they're okay with it. They're okay with the margins they're getting. How did you convince your family about the opportunity of counterfeit and then say that, look, I know the technology that can solve it and you built it.
We built it, yes.
You want to tell me about
Yes,
that?
definitely. So I would say I've been a little fortunate in that way, as in even though we've been a business family, my parent and my brothers have looked to technology, right? So when we were actually building a house, we realized that we ended up buying fake products, fake plywood ourselves.
Exactly. Yes, when you're building homes, you probably end up with fake wood. And it'll say plywood is the classic example you were mentioning, right?
Plywood is. I mean, in fact, one, it's expensive. Secondly, imagine building a house on a fake plywood. I mean, you don't want to do that, right? So when we realized that it's a fake plywood, we thought that we had to use technology. I mean, I've had a technology background. I've done a startup in technology earlier. So we realized, let's look at how we can how we can include technology into this piece and make a better product. So that's where my brother, he also realized, he also knew that there was something missing in this piece. So when we had a discussion, we came up with this idea about how we can actually include technology and make this product better and make it in such a way that one, consumers can verify. Secondly, it's close to 90 to 100% tamper proof and copy proof, so that any counterfeiter cannot take this, copy it or try doing something with it and end up actually replicating it. So we are able to do that.
Interesting. So tell me, holograms were used in the past,
Yes.
but I have not come across them. Where did they use holograms?
So if you've seen most of the products, I mean, one of course, a classic example is your credit cards. If you see on the back of it, there's a hologram.
It's a magnetic card, no?
No, on the back of it, you would have seen a Visa label.
Okay,
So that's a hologram.
Is that? Okay,
Yes.
wow, yes. I
So-
never thought
yeah.
about it as a verification or authentication.
Correct. So that was meant for that.
Was
So
meant
that's
for
a
that,
hologram. A lot of these guys, I mean, the printing companies have been using it. Epson, Aadhaar was using it for the internal purposes.
Okay, but you're saying that it was not consumer oriented.
Not consumer oriented.
So you have to trust that
You
okay,
have
there's a
to
label
trust. Yes.
and therefore it is Visa verified, MasterCard verified, you can buy it.
True.
Right?
For a while, what was happening was, I mean, a consumer looked at a hologram and they thought, okay, it's meant to be original. But eventually that wasn't
So
the
it
case.
was limited only to the supply chain. So
Exactly.
what would people do? They could bring fake products,
They could bring
copy
fake
these
products.
labels.
Yeah, in some way,
okay.
or not exactly even a hologram, right? They could copy some label in some form, and consumers are not aware of it, right? So the problem was the power was never in the hands of the consumer. So that was what was missing.
Let's do a demo for the public.
Sounds
and,
good.
And people who are 18 to 35 watching this, you guys buy a lot from e-commerce sites. You can actually go write reviews asking for,
Yes.
hologram products.
Yep.
And this is how you can verify your product. See, I mean, say this is a printing ink, is it?
It's an Epson, which is a customer of ours.
Okay. Epson is your customer.
Yes.
So they sell this through their portal.
Put it also online. In fact, if you did go to Amazon.com, and a lot of reviews would talk about Uniqolabel that
Interesting.
They've been able to verify this because
Okay.
of Uniqolabel.
So this is Epson's ink, and
Yes.
it comes to you, and it's got Uniqolabel's hologram.
Yes.
And that's where the app takes over.
Yep. So that was it's a simple app. You
You
just
want to show them?
Yep.
It's a barcode scanner, sort of a barcode scanner. In this case, a hologram scanner.
Hologram scanner. Yes. So it's a very simple app. As soon as you open the app,
You want to do the demo? You want
Sure.
to show?
So as soon as you open the app, you come to the screen. There's an audio playback which tells you what to do. So it's pretty
Go ahead.
simple.
Go ahead. Just do it. There you go. It's taking
So
a
it's-
photograph. So
and
there you go. It's verified.
It's verified it and it's told you that's an original product. Plus, it also gives you some details about what label serial number is. Plus, there could be additional details wherein you also get to know where the product was manufactured. So you could verify that.
So you can add more content.
Yep.
You can also say that you can also add many things like scratch cards and everything later on. Into
Yep.
this,
So
right?
we have an interesting feature we've added off late. It's a AR view for the consumer. So a lot of times when they go to buy furniture, they would want to know how it looks in their room. So we added that as well. They can visualize it in their own room and see how it is.
Okay, let's quickly break into the technology in this.
Sure.
The hologram itself is not technology
It's
driven.
not.
Right. This is a dumb sticker
Yep.
that is stuck there.
Yep.
But it's the algorithm in the app that
Yep.
solves things. And what are these algorithms?
So there are
What
multiple,
are they looking for?
So there are multiple aspects which we look for. This is one of the labels. We have multiple variants of this label. This label where we incorporated a hologram. There are labels where we have just incorporated a plain label. So I think I might have it. So it's just like this with a scratch element,
Okay.
right? So there are multiple ways we do it. The idea behind it is very simple. We have this 2D code which gets verified. Plus we also look at the environment. Plus we also look at the holographic elements whether they are present or not. Plus there are additional things like, for example, let's say there's a hidden code which gets looked at. And post verification we use a little bit of machine learning to see if there was any issue. Or rather, if you could red flag, if we found something which was an anomaly, right? So that's the idea. So we use a lot of these combinations of one, computer vision, a little bit of machine learning, a simple scanning technology to actually come up with and help you identify whether the product you have in your hand is original or not.
You
right?
say that there is not a lot of Indian companies doing this. There's global competition for this.
Yes.
You have to correct me. I met a company who's trying to win Amazon as a business,
Yes.
but they're Indians trying to set it up abroad.
Right.
But who would be your biggest competition?
See, as of now, the closest I would say would be a company called Authentic Vision based out of Austria. They're very close in terms of the technology. But in terms of the size, and in India, it would be somebody called Holostick, which is into classic hologram manufacturing. But there are a lot of, there's another company called ProofTag in France. Again, in terms of technology, I would say would be a good competitor. But there are a few companies in India which are coming up now. Which are
Is the barrier to entry in this business? I want to ask you as a businessman, when you look at ideas like this, how scalable is the idea? Because you want to have technology that adds value to you for next 5-6 years, so that you can make a lot of money, and therefore the barriers to entry should be very high.
It is.
So are you well protected? That this is not a commoditized technology.
No,
right?
no. So one, of course, I mean, if you want to talk about IP, we do have a patent on this. One, secondly, the interesting thing about this is once a consumer goes with this, I mean, they're tied to us, they're married to us, right? Because now they've invested a little bit they've put in some effort, they've now educated the customers that there's going to be a label like this. Now it's very difficult for them to change and go to somebody else. One. Secondly, the technology we have is right now what we have is not present, at least in the companies which I've looked at, right? But that helps us create a barrier. So these are the main things I would talk about as in terms of how well we are protected.
Okay. You've got
and in terms
like
of scalability, you asked. Yeah. So you're asking me about clients. Yeah.
Clients, right? You got Epson, you got Tata Steel, you got Kitply. Kitply is very big, and you got DuPont.
DuPont as well.
So you're saying that nobody can tamper this.
Yeah, so it's a tamper-proof label itself.
Okay.
So even if you try to take it out, so what are the various ways which a person can copy this, right? One is you takes it out from an original product and puts it on
another one.
Puts it on another one, which cannot happen because it's tamper evident. One. Secondly, let's say he tries to fake it, like copy it. Either he does a simple black and white copy if it's a very.
Can I see that?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Or he does a good color copy. Right. So that.
Okay. So here's the original one.
Yeah.
And then they can do a black and white copy.
Whatever.
And so it won't recognize it.
Won't. So you can, if you want, we can try that out. It won't get recognized.
It's interesting. So if you are today on Google Play and App Store.
Yes.
I want to ask you. These are great ideas that we have. How did you win your first customer? How difficult was it? And you want to tell me about scaling this globally also, this idea?
Sure. So I don't know if I should say we should say we got lucky with the first customer, but we had an MVP in hand, and we went to Kitply. Kitply was the first customer, and it so happened that they were in dire need of something like this. So within a day we were able to close them, and then we went ahead and actually built the final product. So while we
they gave you a pilot?
No, we actually went live with the product. So I mean, if they actually had a restricted in terms of the number of labels they would first supply. So they did a pilot within their own team and within their own dealers. After that, they actually launched it full time. So that's how it was done. So Kitply was the first customer, and they realized that there's a dire need because they were actually losing a lot to counterfeiters. Post using our product, they've been able to get back 1.5 CR of revenues monthly in Chennai market itself. So Chennai was the biggest market where their products were being counterfeited, right? And throughout India, they've been able to add up to 10 CR to the revenue because of.
That's great. That's great. That's about classic 1.5 million added to the bottom line, top line immediately.
True.
Right.
True.
So that's interesting. I want to ask you. I mean, these are manufactured in your factories. Do you have factories, or do you source them from outside?
Right now, since I said we were already into this business, we do have a manufacturing as well, which we're doing it. So it currently gets manufactured at our own place.
In your own facility.
Yeah.
So the technology-wise, how big is your team?
So we have 10 people in the team, in the tech team.
And you don't have to scale up, right? I mean, you can actually build a proper product company with this.
Yep, we can. But we are adding a little bit of more people into R&D because we realize we need that. Because counterfeiters are always going to be similar to a virus and antivirus game, right? People who make virus will always try to game the antiviral.
So they're saying they can game this system.
If they try to, we have to make sure that never happens, right? So we always have to be on our foot. We make sure we have a good R&D team. So we are actually coming up with our own code now. We don't want to use generic code, so we are actually coming up with our own code.
Okay,
so
this comes with a generic code. You're saying this
right
generic 2D code.
2D code, the QR code. So we are actually coming up with our own algorithm there, wherein nobody will be able to just even scan and make a replication of that or replicate that. Yeah.
Can this also be used in supply chain?
Yes, it can be. So people are using it. As a one government company we are talking to, they are trying to use it for the supply chain. So when a product gets transferred from one place to another. A lot of them people were taking out the product, right, and replacing it with substitutes which were not of the same quality, inferior quality. Okay. So they are using it when they pack it here at this location. They're going to use our label to pack it up, and then send it to location B, where they ensure that what they received is actually what was sent out. So that's where it's getting used. Plus, another use case of this is where a couple of our customers are using it to enable loyalty, right? So they tag the label, so they tag the product with our labels. Serves two purposes. It obviously prevents product from being counterfeited. Plus, the customer who's verifying it gets some loyalty points. So they're also enabling loyalty through our platform.
Retailers could also work with you. Instead of you've already tried a self-checkout startup in the past, right? I mean, for example, if I'm walking to the aisle, can this application work there too?
So in retail, the idea would be again being able to get to know what the product is, the product details, etc. And again, prevent product from being counterfeited. So we are talking to a couple of retailers who would want to use it for specifically right now for supply chain. But we're also exploring how the end consumer could benefit out of it.
Right? And you've not raised money. Is there a reason why? Would you recommend people to raise money when they're doing a startup, say 2-3 years old? The product has received some validation.
Yep.
But do you think they should go raise money?
I think every case is going to be unique. The founder themselves will realize when it's the right time to raise money, right? So in our case, we've been cash flow positive, right? The product is such that it's helped us be cash flow positive. Our team size is our burn is not that high as of now, so that helps us.
Because your team size is small.
Yes.
And you've got a parent company manufacturing the labels.
Yes.
So the burn is low. So your burn is probably in acquiring customers.
And currently running the team, which is again still low. But what I would say is it depends on the founder, right? If there's a need, if they are burning where they are not able to get money from the business, there's probably a need to raise money from outside. I think our rationale have mostly been survive with the business itself. So that way you build a strong business. Right?
The question to you would be, I love Indian product companies, and a lot of people ask me that India builds services companies.
True.
So can you build $100 million company out of this technology?
I think we very well can, because this is a global product. In fact, you look at our customers, close to 20% of them are coming from outside. So we have a customer in South America, a couple of them in Europe. So 10 customers of our 50 customers are actually from outside. So I think it's a global product. It's a global issue, right? Globally, if you look at the global problem of counterfeiting, is close to $1.7 trillion of goods for counterfeit products are sold. So it's not just a unique Indian problem, right? So it's across the world, and I think we can definitely reach that. Also, just to mention that, Epson being a customer, Epson, we were only doing it for India for them, but now they've launched it across South Asia because of the success they've seen with this product.
Okay. Yeah. Being a startup entrepreneur is never easy.
True.
You've done that before.
Yeah.
What would you recommend to younger people trying to do this now, saying they've got product ideas?
True.
But in your case, you were able to put pieces of the puzzle together. You firstly worked with somebody, gained that experience in technology.
True.
You also worked as a VC in a VC firm.
Yes.
So you understand the best of the software world, best of the finance world, and then you have a family business which taught you how to manage and handle money and scale too.
Yep.
You put those together and started up, and also failed once. Twice. Okay. What would you recommend to younger people who perhaps don't have that kind of an exposure?
True. So one is the most important thing of starting up is make sure you have the right team. That's what I believe. Because if you don't have the right team, you will not be able to execute it, right? So even before you have a right product, make sure you have a right team. Because co-founders, having the right co-founders matter a lot. If your co-founder is not in sync with your idea or not in sync with what you're trying to do, then it does cause a lot of problems. Most of I'm sure you would know, most of the startups close because of co-founders not getting well, right?
Majority of the times, yes.
Getting
good co-founders.
Yeah. So that's one reason. Secondly, I would say a lot of times in my own experience, a lot of times I've got feedback about a product saying, this is not going to work. So I would say, personally, I would probably not say, take it and write it in your book, but personally, I would say, also go by your gut feeling. Sometimes that works as well, right? Because especially if you've had, in my case, I've had people who've been in this industry, so that helped me, right? So if you can go to somebody who's been in the industry, they'll probably give you the right feedback. But don't just go to any Tom, Dick and Harry. They will always give feedback. People love to give opinions, right? So be a little
go to people who've already done it,
and be a little wary about the opinion or feedback you get, right? Not always everything is right, and not everything that's said is right. So be subjective about it. Make sure what you take in, you're able to filter out what is actually needed. Yes.
And you're a voracious reader. You've been reading one of my favorite books, which is Ray Dalio's Principles, where he talks about living in reality and measuring that reality and not getting carried away by your own beliefs.
True.
Do you want to talk about why you would recommend that book to?
That's a great book. It's a 600. I think
it's a big book.
Big book.
Certainly.
I've been reading it for a good amount of time. I've been rereading it as well, because the amount of knowledge you get from that one single book is immense, right? And one thing that stuck with me, and it makes you think in a different dimension, right? I mean, it helped me do that. One particular aspect of the book that stuck with me is the second order and third order effects of each action that happens. Generally, as humans, we tend to look at the second order effect. Like, for example, if you're running, the second order effect is you are tired, right? But the third order effect is you actually become healthy. So when you're doing something, how do you take a decision? Also just don't look at the immediate second order effect. Also look at what can come subsequently, the third order effects, the fourth order effects. So that's very important. That stuck with me for some reason.
The subsequent benefits of trying,
benefits, yes.
Right? And most often, you were right, we look at something and say, hey, is that possible?
True.
It's just like running.
Correct. It is.
Right? And have you ever been in that spot before?
Yep, I have. I mean, I have. A lot of times we do give up thinking that this is probably not going to work. But when you do give it a thought and you realize that could be third order effects, you then tend to go with it. In fact, most of the times I've always believed that let's also jump into it sometime and see what goes. So I've done that as well, and I've seen that this works. And looking at the third order effect or fourth order effect is very important.
And there's another book that you'd recommend very strongly. It's called Persuasion, not Persuasion.
Not
Why?
Persuasion.
Persuasion by Robert Cialdini.
Yeah, Robert Cialdini. So the idea there is, he's written a book called Influence. I'm sure most of the founders have read it. Influence, about how people get influenced and how you can influence people to do something, right? So this book is about what you can do before that.
Meeting them.
Before meeting them or before anything happens.
I think that's a very good point you make. Most of the startups, before they meet somebody, maybe me,
right.
maybe another founder, maybe even a VC.
True.
You've got to study them.
Correct.
And then you'd know what to say. That's also a lot of what Ray Dalio says,
yes,
right? Preparation.
Exactly. Preparation.
Right?
So preparation is important, and how do you persuade them? So that's why it's persuasion, right? Another very interesting book I'm reading, and I actually don't want to give out to it because
why is that? It's not money. You can give it out.
Money.
Please tell us.
But because then it's a book on negotiation. It's called Never Split the Difference, and it's by Chris. It's an amazing book.
Never
Split the Difference.
Never split the difference.
It's an amazing book about negotiation. Reason why I don't want to give that out is because if everybody reads it, then I won't be a good negotiator. The other person
no, he's actually kidding. You can go read it, and you can also check out Uniqolabel on Google Play and App Store.
Yeah.
Counterfeiting is a terrible business. Don't get fooled by it. Ask your e-commerce service provider to get to Uniqolabel, or maybe others who probably are in this business. They're an app. They're also white labeled in many companies like Epson. If you're buying a printer, if you're buying plywood, maybe with Kitply. Even Tata Steel is your customer.
Tata Steel is a customer. DuPont is a customer.
DuPont
Bangalore Police is a customer.
Bangalore Police too. For what products do they sell?
So the certificates that they give out as a background verification. So they use our product on that.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. And so if you're going to the Bangalore Police, you should certainly use Uniqolabel. Do they ask you to download the Uniqolabel app and then scan?
They do. So they give out certificates to potential employees. So as an employee would ask for that as a background verification.
Yes.
So you would verify when the person comes to you for a job.
I never thought about that. You could use it for people too.
Yep. Yeah. In fact, a lot of colleges are using it for their certificates as well.
Very interesting. On that note, congrats on this business. Hope to see you soon, and hope you build $100 million business.
Thank
you
so
guys, thank you. By the way, the Maharashtra Startup Week, they've extended their deadline to January 12th. There are 4 more days. We're going to leave you the link. You can win government projects worth 15 lakhs. The government's going to cut all the red tape. You're going to go straight to them. You can get all their contracts. So thank you guys. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yep,
Thanks.
Bye.
That was lovely. Thank you. That's it. Thank you. That's a take. And by the way, there's one audience question about starting up. You can go answer on Facebook later on.
Sure.
Did you enjoy it?
Yep, it was great.
It's a good one.
How was it?
I liked it. Ask her. She'll tell you.